It's working. Yay. Hey guys, tonight's story, The Polar Express. So I watched this last night. Haven't seen it in a while. And it's such a fabulous movie. So cool. It's just a really great movie with just really good feel good parts to it. So I remembered that I had the actual book, so I'm gonna read you the book, The Polar Express, and I would encourage you to watch it if you get a chance this weekend. So, The Polar Express. All right, The Polar Express. It is by Chris, ooh, written and illustrated. So he did both the story and the pictures by Chris Van Allsburg. Um, just an awesome, awesome story. All right, so I'm having a little trouble with glare tonight. So hopefully, just because it's really shiny paper. So hopefully we can make this work. And I'll try and deglare it. All right. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside, the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest and then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and my robe. I tripped downstairs and out the door. All aboard! The conductor cried out. I ran up to him. Where? I asked. Why, to the North Pole, of course, was his answer. This is the Polar Express. I took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and as rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon, there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon. The po- but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, and hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed the barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Then lights appeared in the distance. They looked like lights of a strange ocean, of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. There, said the conductor, is the North Pole. The North Pole. It was a huge city. standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. "They are gathering in the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. The conductor answered, "He will choose one of you." "Look!" shouted one of the children. "The elves!" Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped, and the conductor led us outside. Okay, I'm going to zoom in so you can see in the picture, just like in the movie. Look at all the elves in the ground. It's just filled. Little white specks down here. Those are all elves and elf hats. Try and get rid of that goofy glare. Okay, we passed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pounced and they paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard before. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and pointed to me and said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee, and he asked, "Now, what would you like for Christmas?" I knew I could have any gift that I could imagine. But the thing I wanted most was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bell high above him and called out, "The first gift of Christmas." Still trying to get rid of that glare. A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked the whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us and then disappeared into the cold, dark, polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said. But the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. What? I yelled out. He clapped his hands around his mouth. Merry Christmas! He shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle. Whoo! And sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it, and inside was the silver bell. There was a note. Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C. I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, Oh, that's too bad. Yes, said my father, it's broken. When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me, as it does for all who truly believe. So I have a funny story for you. A couple stories. Number one, when I would read this book to my kids at school, I would read the book and then we'd watch the movie. And the kids would put on their jammies, and we've had hot chocolate, and we did all the stuff that was in the movie. And then we'd compare it, and we'd talk about, we make an assignment. It was a compare and contrast, things that were in the book, things that were only in the movie, and then things that were in both. And that actually can be a Venn diagram, which is a teaching tool. So I made it a learning experience. It was really, they were learning something, but we had so much fun. I loved our Polar Express days. It was usually like right before Christmas break. And I think that some of my kindergarten teacher friends still do this, which I just love. Even some of the first grade, I think. So anyways, so I told you I watched this last night and I got all into it, just really emotional because that's who I am. So anyways, so I have a tree in the bedroom, and just a little one, and it's decorated with bells and little silver things. It's just a small one, but on it I have several of these decorations which say Believe Kindergarten 2010. I think this is the first time I did it with my kids. Or no, it wasn't, but it was one of the times. Probably the best one. I like these blue ones. And it said, Merry Christmas, love for Mrs. Steele. So I gave this to all of my students. And so I shook it last night. I was like all excited. So I got up and I said, Greg, look, the bell, blah, blah, blah. And I like tried to take a picture of my bell and the television and blah, 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 because I was all excited. And then I shook the bell. It was silent. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I couldn't believe. I'm like, oh, it's broken. I've lost my magic. I don't know how to, whatever. It was truly broken. And I fixed it. And I can hear the bell. I can hear it now. But I thought that was kind of funny, that especially since it was the part of the movie where only the people who believe can hear it. And suddenly there was no ringing. So I thought that was kind of funny. So that's my other part of the story. So believe. I'm rocking Christmas trees today. I have Christmas trees on my bracelet. I have a Christmas tree bell around my neck. I have a pin, and I have Christmas trees here on the back of a car on my leggings. So it's Christmas tree day. So anyways, this is day 11. No, 10. Getting ahead of myself. So we're getting closer. I found a whole bunch more books that I were in a different spot. And I think the ones that I recorded last year, my very, very favorite ones, the Jan Brett ones, I'm going to record again because let's face it, I love those stories. They're like my favorite. And I love reading The Gingerbread Baby because I love the little voice. So I'm going to read it again so you can have two versions to listen to and you can compare, contrast, and see which ones are better. Um, Hopefully you like it all. So anyways, one more thing, and I got to let you go. It's long today. We have to find them. You're going to find them quickly. They're being a little naughty today. Jingle and Jangle are feeling a little bit more comfortable. So here's what we need to do. Remember where all the moose are? Yeah, they decided that they were going to take some moose for a ride. And so we're going to start over here. Not on the tree. Trying to remember where the moose are. They are not on. Oops, wait a minute. I haven't turned it off. They're not on that moose. Where's all the little moosies? Oh, let's see. They're not on this moose. Okay, they weren't up there. Not on that one. Not on that. There they are. Look at them. I noticed them right off. Look at you guys. Hiding on. Seriously? Guys, really? Riding the moose. Silly, see, there they are. Like, see, I'm just riding the old moose. But that is the fluffiest. It's a pretty fluffy moose, and it probably supports them pretty well. So hopefully they're having a fun time. But it was easy to find them today, so that was pretty good. All right, guys, have a great evening. Have a great weekend. I will see you tomorrow. More stories. Day 11 coming tomorrow. Love you. Bye-bye.